one of the organizers at Mobile Monday, Silicon Valley. I'd like to welcome everybody to Google. We've got an exciting panel for everybody tonight on mobile analytics. And I'm going to talk briefly about what we do at Mobile Monday, Silicon Valley. So, Mobile Monday, Silicon Valley is some of our previous sponsors here. Tonight our sponsors are Google, Kontagent, and I'd like to give a round of applause for both our sponsors this evening for Google for hosting us. Thank you. Mobile Monday Silicon Valley is our hashtag at Twitter, so if you want to tweet at us, feel free to do that this evening. So this is a little bit of the agenda tonight. I'm Brandon Breon. Again, I'm one of the organizers with Mobile Monday Silicon Valley. And we're going to have some presentations. Seamus McAteer is actually our panel moderator. And afterwards will be some networking. Again, this is our hashtag. You can tweet us at MomoSV. So Mobile Monday Silicon Valley, we actually have chapters all around the world. So I don't know how many of you have not been to Mobile Monday Silicon Valley. Raise your hands. The first time. Wow. Impressive. It's great. Well, if you're ever in one of these cities and you'd like to go to a Mobile Monday, you can attend an event. Just check it out online. You'll be able to find it. But pretty much anywhere in the world, there are these Mobile Monday meetups. Here are some of the group stats in terms of folks that visit our Mobile Monday. You can see a lot of it is business development mixed with developers and product marketing. These are some of our previous sponsors here. A bunch of different folks from eBay to Google, Navtech, Millennial Media, Cisco. This is our team. We've got a handful of us that organize the events. And this is where you can find us. MobileMonday.us, Twitter, and Ustream. So again, I'd like to thank the sponsors, Google and Kontagent. Thank you very much for having us all and putting this together. Before we get started, I'd like to ask Babak from Google to come up and open the evening. And also, you put your business cards out there in a bowl. Kontagent and Google AdMob are giving away some prizes, so make sure that you put your business card in there and they're going to do a drawing. Kontagent has some nice boxes of wine, and Google has some really cool Bluetooth devices as well, so make sure you drop your card in there. So I'd like to ask Babak to please come up. He's going to open our night. Thanks, Babak.
Good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing?
That's good.
Good. People are really kind of that. Usually my staff is a lot quieter than this, so I was going to have you guys to just stand up and do some butterflies or something. I'm not going to do that tonight. 2 apologies in advance. One is my voice is like this tonight. I don't normally sound like this, but this weekend for some reason I caught a cold and then it didn't affect anything else except my voice. So. And it does have a time limit. Within like 45 minutes, I'm going to completely lose my voice. It'll completely shut off. So, yeah, that's one. Second apology is I have to jump on a plane later tonight. I rearranged my schedule to be with you guys. The last flight I could take was 8:50. So I do have a hard stop at 7:40 after the panel. So if I do end up leaving early, I do apologize. It's not because I do want to leave. It's just because the airplane, there's nothing after that. So I was at least stranded here. But Ross Ketchum on my staff, he needs our mobile development. He's going to jump on the panel in case I do have to leave early. So, with that being said, let's just get started. Alright, so how many of you guys have seen this picture? We showed it in the places. Alright, good. So, for those who haven't seen it, It's quite interesting. So this picture on the left is the St. Peter's Square during Pope Benedict, and it's the same square in 2013. So on the left hand side, there's one early adopter, with one flip phone, taking one photo. Boom. That could be one of you guys. And on the right hand side, there's a person holding up an iPad. We take photos now with our iPads. I don't know, we never took pictures with our laptops. We never held it up outside. Still, anyways, the larger point this picture drives is that it's truly a multi-screen world we live in. It's truly dramatic, actually. It's catching everyone by surprise. None of us consumers are just outpacing business at this point. We have multiple devices everywhere now. Show of hands, how many people have a smartphone and a tablet? So I'm assuming you guys also have a desktop and a laptop too, and a TV, right? So that's 5. That's 5 devices right there. In my case, I guess I test everything. I counted at my house. I have 14 screens. So, and there's connected screens everywhere. I'm a gadget freak, but I'm a total outlier. I'm probably that person who's holding up that thing. But in reality, the consumers outpace businesses completely. And it is a multi-screen world that we live in right now. Furthermore, everyone is online these days. It's kind of ridiculous. Not only internet grew within the past 3 years, this data says from 2012, not 2013 just yet, but the people online community actually went from 1.5 billion to 2.3 billion. The other noteworthy element here especially is the size of the US e-commerce business. Already it's a $250 billion business, just the e-commerce side of the internet. And obviously, like when we look at it, like Twitter 3 years ago was nowhere, right? The percentage growth is ridiculous. We're seeing the same thing with other services, such as Instagram or Google Plus and other things. It's everything is expanding, and consumers are constantly online. Sounds like a cliche, but it's actually true. Furthermore, the data set that's getting created on the internet it's also quite literally exploding. I learned this actually recently. I thought I knew a big number was around petabytes. But then this 2013, the data size, the amount of data that's getting created on the internet by docs or uploads or photos or anything like that, it's actually right now we live in a 4 zettabytes world. So each zettabyte is 1 trillion gigabytes. So, and it's expected that it's going to double in 2015. So the data is also exploding. But I want to pound on this. I'm going to tell you it's going more and more complex. So one more. The path to purchase is becoming more and more complex too. We ran a study here at Google, and a couple of things we found out were quite interesting to us and actually remarkable in some ways. Specifically in the context of how mobile is shaping our thought process on how to purchase stuff. We found that 70% of mobile searches actually, first of all, occur at home or work. It's not that you're outside and you're happy and you're just walking around. You're actually sitting at your desk. Instead of choosing your laptop or your desktop, you whip out your phone and you just search on your phone. It's unintuitive, but it's true. And the other interesting part was the third element here, was that ultimately 20% of these researches, the searches that you do on the phone, end up in a phone call or visit to a store, and half of those roughly, they happen within an hour, which is again quite interesting. So the example of that is your wife calls you up, a toaster broke, you're at work, instead of searching online, a lot of times you just have your phone with you and you're sitting in a meeting or and you search, and then maybe right after you take off from work, just go and pick up a target. You've already done the research. Super advanced users, maybe they already place a call and they just go and pick it up, or now you know what you want and you just want to set up in the store. It's changing consumer behavior. This change is real and it's happening. Landscape is also changing dramatically too. It's only, picture on the left is 2005. which Nokia was quite literally ruling the world in the smartphone area, and right now it's changing. So the red bar on top is iOS, green is Android, and obviously you have Windows and everything else at the bottom. So even the operating systems are commanding the smartphones and tablets and devices are all changing dramatically. And again, consumers are adopting this at a ridiculous rate. And furthermore, so we checked, as of now, we have about apparently 1.5 billion smartphones in the world, which is a ridiculous number. I remember only a couple of years ago, everyone was just carrying, the super nerds and super geeks like myself would carry the PDAs and stuff. It was so, it just didn't fit right. But now, if you don't carry a smartphone, it seems like you're a great person from this generation. So it's happening. The other thing is, it's certainly the apps are outpacing mobile web, and it's a significant shift again. People thought, a lot of people at Google thought that mobile web was going to be the one that was going to take off, and it just hasn't quite been the case. And apps are certainly are taking over in terms of our usage of these smartphones or tablets. And the last item in this path of thinking is that the opportunity is massive from an advertising perspective. We were looking at this picture, which I'm borrowing from McAteer. She's presenting this in the B11 last week. There's a $20 billion market still waiting to be disrupted in the mobile ads business. And it's just, right now it's about $4 billion story, but there's a significant upgrade still is yet to be had. So everything is shifting. It's multi-screen, multi-channel, multi-OS, and consumers are also pretty savvy. Gone the days that they would just have just a desktop at home and work, and only the tech industry would be using those. No, that's no longer the case. So, that being said, if you're a business in this new world, what do you do? I mean, your house is now upside down. What do we do with these things? The explosion of data, explosion of screens, and it's on one hand it's quite scary. On the other hand, it's an opportunity for all of us to innovate and to sort of take advantage of this massive shift that we're observing. So to do that, I guess I wanted to talk about this from a philosophical, higher level, from Google's perspective, from our perspective. Why do we care about analytics as a whole? Like, what's the point of it all? And when we were thinking about this, the simplest way that we could sort of articulate this was this feedback loop. And that is that it's ultimately about the following steps. You do measurements in order to do attribution. You do attribution in order to do optimization to ultimately take an action. And you do this over and over again. And the way you're looking at this, the future of advertising is about data-driven optimization of ads delivery across multiple devices, multiple channels. And ultimately, it is about personalized marketing. And our marketing person is going to give you a problem because you should say personalized, you should say tailored marketing. But ultimately, it is about this funnel. It's no longer that analytics is about how many people visited your site, and then it's a happy report, or how many people checked out this part of the website, the checkout section of your e-commerce or whatnot, or how many, even like in mobile, how many unique features you have. It's much deeper. It's ultimately about providing attribution to say, we know the last click. If you want to measure your conversions, you're trying to look for signups, you're trying to get people to buy your something within your app on your website and whatnot. How do we put it all together? That's the question. And it's interesting when you look at it from small business perspective, small developers, which I used to be one of myself. Your world is a lot simpler at the beginning. You have an app, you put it out there, successful, get a lot of downloads, money, great. But then you need to grow. You need to go from iOS to Android, and then you go to multiple devices, then you need to grow up more, you need to go now to TV and to other mediums. Smart TVs are out there, Xbox is out there. And then you care about it because now I want to do advertisements. So how do I figure out which one is working for me, which one is not working for me? As opposed to just caring about last clicks. I ran an AdMob campaign, an AdWords campaign. A lot of these keywords didn't help me directly convert, but then for some reason, if I advertise for, I don't know, happy moments while running somehow, it ends up converting better for shoe sales. Why is that? And only with attribution we can actually tell you that story. We can only do that via measurements. And to look at this, the way we observe sort of how do we help, how can we help you with measurements? We have three ways of talking about this. It's about holistic measurements, full carrier measurements, and also active measurements. Holistic measurement, which I'm going to dive into a little bit right after this, is around, again, we have multiple touch points. Consumers are interacting with all kinds of properties that you own. And then how do we give you the full picture of how your properties are being used by your customers? Full carrier measurement is about attribution, and specifically data-driven attribution modeling. And active measurement is about ultimately taking these measurements and then integrating this into a bid optimizer or some sort of mechanics in which when you are asleep, you're still making money. Your system is working on your behalf. So I touched on this a little bit. That is, the world is super complex, and it's not just about apps. It's all the touch points that are online and are connected to the internet. And to look at this, I mean, it's happening and it's a reality. And even for, as I was saying, even if you're a small, early up and running startup, your world will change, and you will have to adapt because you want growth. If you're content with just being on one of the stores, that's fine. None of these things are going to matter to you. But as you grow and you become bigger and bigger, it matters. Like the example that I give is Angry Birds. It was a successful iOS app, and it was great. But then it became multiple apps, and then it went into Android, and then it went into Chrome apps on the web, to TV. And now they're running TV campaigns, and it's everywhere, right? So if you want to do true measurements, you have to be able to connect it all together. Like this.
More slides and it's apart.
That's 2 more slides. So ultimately, what we're talking about from a measurements of the future is to go more and more from session-based analytics, which is how we all used to do measurements, to more and more focus on user-centric view of the world, in which there is an ID that you can provide to us as any analytics providers. And then we can actually just try to put it all together for you, the picture, to give you the full picture of measurements. This is a product that we launched called Universal Analytics, and ultimately it's there to help the industry move forward in this multi-screen, multi-channel world. That being said, I'm going to wrap it up. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I'd like to have Josh come up from Kontagent, speak a minute about what Kontagent does, and then we'll start the panel.
Well, hey, thanks everybody for coming out. I don't have a slide deck. I'm just going to keep it short and sweet. I don't want too many slides. I wanted to follow on to what Babak was saying, and I'm sure it's a set of issues that everybody in the room here can identify with. We're all, I'm sure most of us, are mobile app developers, and it's really hard today to figure out what's going on inside of your applications. But we see mobile apps exploding, both in terms of usage with customers and in terms of purchases, both being driven directly inside of applications and those mobile apps influence on purchases through other platforms. So it's a pretty complicated picture, as Babak said. And so I'm really excited about this panel and for all the excellent panelists, hopefully providing some experience and some insight on how you can get the most out of data and analytics in a pretty complicated world. Certainly at Kontagent, that's what we try to do. We really help businesses understand the customer experience inside of mobile applications and to optimize it using data. So we combine really complex data processing with data science to give you a really clear picture of your customer experience. And that's also to empower you to really, have empathy for your customer and help you really improve your applications over time. And I think, to date, a lot of businesses sort of treated mobile applications as experiments. We saw, a lot of businesses move over from the web and focus on their mobile websites. But as Babak showed, really mobile applications are where consumers spend most of their time and do a lot of their purchasing today. And so it's really important to understand that mobile application experience. So again, excited for the panel, and I think we have a group of really expert speakers here from sort of leading companies in the space, and I hope it's worthwhile for everybody. We'll get it started here. I just want to do a quick shout out and say, if you guys can, check out Kontagent.com, check out our blog. We have some white papers really centered around exactly the sorts of questions we'll be asking, and hopefully doing a good job answering today on the panel. So check it out after the talk. Thanks.
The panelists come on up now so we can get started. Who wants to take a seat? Can you guys hear me okay? Or is it still? Is that all right? Good. Right.
I want to just turn that off so we don't have to touch the PC. Very distract. All right. Thank you. Thanks. Oh, wait a minute. That's about it. That's fine. Feedback. My name is Seamus McAteer. I have a analytics insight at a company called Millennial Media. Millennial Media is the leading independent mobile ad network, which means we're not Google, Facebook, or Twitter. And we're a public company. We work with thousands of developers we delivered about $100 million back to mobile app developers last year. So we're primary monetization vehicle used by mobile app developers. And we're inundated with data. And we have, because of our relationships with app developers, we've got rights to actually take each contextual observation that's an ad call represents and potentially roll those up into some sort of user profile and have a platform and infrastructure to do that. And we've got a team over there that whose job it is to head that up. So if you're really smart and you're looking for a massive data set to mine or hiring activity. But my background in mobile analytics, so I started with a company called AdMetrics, which is owned by Comscore. I was on the board of a company called Moderator, which was early in mobile analytics, which McAteer acquired. Millennial just acquired my company, MetaResolver, which is actually a mobile DSP that focuses on analytics. So I got a little bit of a background on this space. I know most of the companies represented here, I'll just go down the panel and ask each panelist to briefly introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about what mobile analytics means to them. To me, when I look at the analytics products, honestly, I see mobile reports, I see reports. And I'm not sure how much analytics is there. And I think web analytics is a misnomer, but that's just my knowledge. So I'll ask you, start with this. want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Well, I'm Chris Dury. I'm the CEO of GetJar. How many of you have heard of GetJar? Probably everybody that's heard of GetJar thinks that it's an app store. In fact, GetJar pioneered the free app store model and grew it to the largest independent store and second largest in Android. But in 2011, we saw the rise of Android and thought that it would become the first smartphone platform to do units and be the fastest growing computing platform ever. And when faced with that kind of juggernaut, it's not something we want to compete against. And so we thought, well, rather than compete against Google, let's figure out a way that we can complement it, because after all, this is the fastest growing computing platform ever. And what we saw was a large gap in monetization and distribution. And this continues today. We thought we could help developers solve this problem. And so what we've done is reimagine the offer wall. Now, a lot of people, when they think of an offer wall, they think of basically what was in iOS. But since we've only been in this business for about a year, we were able to reimagine it built around Android. And it turns out, because Android's so open, that you can do things to make offer walls really work. What you need to make an offer wall work is a great user experience, high advertiser conversion, and high publisher payouts. And if you do all of that, then an offer wall can be the best way to monetize in-app purchases for anyone. And that's what we've done. And the way that we've done that, the reason that I'm on this panel, is we do it with behavioral targeting and group data. So we measure the time in-app engagement among other metrics across every single Android app. I think it's a unique data set. I've never heard anyone else say that. So I know the time in-app across, let's say, WhatsApp and Instagram, or Google Plus and Facebook. Maybe we'll talk about some of that as we get into this panel. What we do with that data set is create a behavioral targeting product that delivers high advertiser conversion. So if you're doing a mobile user acquisition campaign, that you can get both scale and conversion, high engagement for Android. And so with that data set, we're able to do this stuff at Kontagent.
If you need Babak better, pass the mic to Ryan.
Don't hear from you.
There's plenty of time.
I'm not helping my voice.
We'll let Ryan introduce himself. I'm Ryan Zulata.
Hi, my name is Ryan McAteer. I'm the VP of Product at Apsalar. We essentially provide marketers tools to measure campaigns, to acquire users, and understand the ROI of their campaigns within their applications. So for us, the focus is generally around building tools that help people understand where they're finding users and how efficient those users are in their product.
Josh, why don't we pass it to Vidya?
Hi guys. I'm Vidya. I'm a manager on our analytics team at Flurry on the business side. So my role is really to work with developers out there and help them understand the data that they're seeing and help them improve their businesses. So we're excited to be here. Thanks.
Okay.
Hi there, my name is Vishay Nimalani. I'm a product manager with AdMob. My focus is on helping developers monetize their applications. And so we work very closely with Google Analytics too.
Excellent. So, just kicking it off, like we've got Kontagent. Do you actually make money directly from analytics? Do you charge for analytics?
We do, yeah. We actually really strongly believe in that. The reason we really structured our business that way is we wanted to be able to focus entirely on analytics and data science and helping developers and businesses understand really what's going on inside of their applications with their customers. And so, the only way to do that, really purely, is to charge for analytics. So that's 100% our focus. We don't make money any other way.
So you're a data scientist. So just explain. Just give me one example, like how you move beyond aggregated reporting, which is what I see with analytics packages, to more evolved insight.
Yeah, great question. So I actually agree with you that today I think we see a lot of sort of dashboards and reports, and not deep analysis and intelligence. In a world of sort of big data, where you have this plethora of data. What really matters is, you know, the insight that you glean from it and the intelligence with which you can arm, you know, your organization, the folks inside your company to make business decisions to improve your application. So, you know, more concretely, how we do that at Kontagent, you know, we get these huge, you know, data sets. We look at billions of user actions a day across many applications. And rather than just spitting out sort of aggregated reports on sort of averages of what users are doing across your application, we try to create products that bake data science in to kind of arm you to make better decisions. So a good example of that would be, you know, there are, that when you're early on in an application's development, let's say you're a game developer, for example, you know, there are some critical sort of metrics that you want to look at that can be real great predictors of how successful your application is going to be or isn't going to be. And there are, a good example there is sort of retention. It's just a very basic metric. And there are 1,000 different ways to measure retention, right? But the way we do it is we look at different cohorts and segments of users and bake into kind of easy to understand reports that, you know, your product and marketing folks can understand without being a data scientist, the most kind of predictive and actionable measures of retention. So for games specifically, you know, that might be something like your 7-day retention from a cohort of users that came in from a given ad channel or ad targeting campaign. And we'll expose that data to you and, you know, really easy to understand reports that you can actually make decisions around. Kind of as a very basic example. And on the very advanced end is looking at things like predictive LTV, so lifetime value prediction, and, you know, helping marketers make decisions in real time based on early signals of activity that users coming in from a new ad campaign have demonstrated, and comparing that to your historical data and just showing you where we expect, you know, those users to end up in terms of overall value and where you should deploy your marketing dollars.
I really want to know how Millennial shows up in the Google reports. You know, like, how do you, because we have Google talking about attribution. What am I attributing? Search, AdMob, what do we, so how can Google be an independent arbiter? How do you get bonus Babak? Like, you know, what's your, you know, what do you drive it at?
Yeah, there's a bonus structure directly tied to how much you hide, I guess, I don't know. So Google Analytics, I guess it's part of the success of Google Analytics is a lot of it is hinged on our promise that the data set that we have, first of all, we don't own it. The publisher owns it. That's the contract. That's the toss you sign. The terms of services clearly dictates that we don't own that data. You own it. We can use it for improving Google Analytics itself or developing more products. But no data gets shared across Google without consent. And in fact, it's the other way around. Actually, people want us to take that and do accounting with AdWords and AdMob and AdSense and others. They want us to do that for them. And it's tricky business. But it's the other way around. That's one. On the attribution side, so it's important for us to answer your question. It's important to us critically to be the Switzerland of measurement. It's absolutely important to us. Otherwise, I mean, things are really needed. Otherwise, it's a fox and hen house type of situation that nobody wants. So that's on that side. On the other side, attribution is a very tricky system, and we have a full focus on this, and especially as of last year, we have formed as a team under this. We're fully focused on this, and it's really the game of data, right? If you don't have the data, you're not going to go anywhere. Pure and simple. Like you guys, Kontagent, I'm sure they share the same pain points. You can toss at it the most sophisticated algorithm in the world, the most sophisticated ML-based model, anything, right? If you don't have data, you're not going anywhere. You're just sitting on your side. So that's the matter. And we are in the process of expanding our data imports. And when you talk to especially businesses, big businesses, there's going to be some data points that they're going to share with us. There's going to be some data points that they're not going to ever share with us. Expedia told us flat out, not right now. We're not going to. You have this traveling, internal business going on, so we're not going to give out ROI information, which is fine. But our job and our focus is specifically with something that they talk about in the public market. It's about our data-driven attribution modeling. We're going to launch it end of this quarter. It's going to go over into full public beta. It is about taking as much data as there is from a business and trying to provide credits to different models that we see. And it's going to be a long haul. We want to have the full thing. The big thing that I'm trying to look at is in order to do true attribution, you have to cover offline conversions too, and you have to do brand advertisement too. You have to look at TV. TV is a huge element in this, especially for the types of customers we're looking at, Walmart, Macy's, and whatnot.
But like we could have a long discussion about, if that attribution modeling is huge, like you get companies that convert from Dometry, variety of companies trying to figure out this problem for the online. I'm trying to get them to actually give us attention in mobile, Adobe's out there with their platform. And then you've got the issue with cookies and cookie degradation, and I don't think we'll ever have a perfect solution. We'll get points on a map, and then you've got panel-based approaches, some very substantial panels with folks that compete in data, in mobile. I think there's going to be a great approach. But before that, let's bring in some of the other panelists. So, Apsalar, Flurry, what's your business model? So, you guys are, first and foremost, you make money with advertising. Right? So, you started out with a Trojan horse that was analytics. And then you said, screw you guys, we gotta make some money. The free lunch is over. Give us some of your impression data, and we're kind of I don't know what. Flurry is a new business model every week, so maybe you can. What's in this week?
You sold to an ad network.
I did that already, dude.
This is tough. So our model is actually pretty straightforward. The reason we offer analytics actually is because we know that you need to use your data for targeting. It's quite straightforward. So with Apsalar, you install our SDK. You're able to understand your users, where you're acquiring them from. We've integrated with a set of exchanges, including Google Ads, which we're in the process of doing. And you'll be able to use your data to retarget and acquire and retain your users. For us, it's pretty straightforward that you, as an ad marketer, have to do lifecycle management for your users. And analytics is a huge part of that. So yeah, we make money through advertising, but for us, it's really, that's part and parcel of the deal to be effective.
So is it for, just help me understand that, so you're saying you're focused on user acquisition for app developers, and that's the exclusive focus for the business?
Well, we provide analytics to support that, to show that it's effective, but the primary focus and the way we make money is through advertising.
So you're not wrapping the inventory for people that have installed your app, you don't have ad SDK?
We're not an ad network, so we actually integrate with exchanges, and we bid on it.
Okay, and then Vijay, sorry,
that was a great warm intro. So Flurry has been around for a number of years. Our analytics package started around launch of the iPhone. It's always been free. The idea is for always to be free. The way that we make money is through our ad network. We both have a demand side and supply side network/platform, and our users choose if they want to advertise their applications with us or want to insert an ad space with us. They're more than welcome to. Otherwise, they're more than welcome to just use our free analytics package.
But you're not making any money today at all directly through analytics?
That's correct. We make $0. Actually, it's still a huge part of our business because I think as some of the other folks here, that underlying data that we capture helps in some ways power our advertising business. So we still have a very large engineering team, product team working on advancing features all the time. We're continually launching features. So it's still an incredibly important part of our business because that's at the core of who we are.
Okay. How many people using it? Like you guys are essentially the most widely deployed analytics package right now.
Yeah, at the moment we're working with about 100,000 developers on about 300,000 apps. So we're seeing a ton of data and data points, and I'm sure you can understand as a data scientist it can feel overwhelming, but we're tracking about a little over 3 billion sessions a day.
And the data that belongs to the app developers, how can you use it and how do you conditions?
Sure, so we provide a lot of aggregate reporting through our dashboard, and certainly there are a number of APIs too, so we certainly subscribe to the philosophy that a lot of folks on here share, that it's the data that we publisher.
Right, but can you guys aggregate data across publishers about a specific user?
So if that user, we basically treat everything as a device, so we will see all the activity on that device.
So the answer is yes.
Yes.
Okay. And Apsalar, you do that too?
Yes.
And Chris, how are you getting data across all these apps that haven't integrated any code from
We have a discovery app, and it's there to help you find Google, so we're able to see everything you do. I'll point out that it's the same data that Google and Apple has. So outside Google and Apple, we don't really have it. It's powerful data, though. I just want to share a couple data points for all competitors and validators. So, according to our data, for Android app usage on Instagram and WhatsApp are both bigger than Twitter. And this means both in terms of active users, so the number of users that use it over a 1 week period, as well as time in app, their total engagement. So, and I think that maybe Instagram is more up right now, but that WhatsApp is bigger is a big surprise. But within that space, WhatsApp in the US is completely crushing everybody, but what people don't know is that they're also the largest in the world. Line and Kakao are known to be big in Japan and Korea. WhatsApp's very large worldwide. And put it in context, Facebook is used by 60% of Android users over the course of a week in the US. Facebook's Messenger app is used by only 7%. And so while WhatsApp is at about 30% of active users. So this, just to relate back to your own businesses, the idea of a standalone app versus an integrated suite of apps, particularly when there's crossover in functionality, the standalone simply doesn't work. If this was Messenger as a standalone strategy, doesn't work at all. I think Google's also seen this with Plus and Hangouts. By fragmenting the users, it's actually going to get worse than Google.
And Vishay, just talk a little bit. So AdMob had a analytics product, and so that went away. How did that go away? And what's your role? Do you work on the analytics side? Describe your role at Google. I know it's sort of dealing with developers in the broadest sense, and on the AdMob side. And where does analytics play into that?
Sure. So I'm the product manager for sort of all of our AdMob publisher products. That is, if you want to monetize your applications, we build tools to help you do that. That's things with network monetization, mediation, house ads, a number of the sort of features that are there for developers to help manage their ad inventory. So as Seamus pointed out, we had AdMob had built an analytics product, or was working on it at the time that they were required. Shortly after acquisition, we chose to stop pursuing that activity. And I think we've, since we've been at Google, we've been working very closely with the Google Apps Analytics team to figure out what are the analytics that are important to mobile app developers, and how do we bring the same sort of power of analytics that we brought to the desktop web to mobile apps. As we've kind of pointed out before, I think everybody on the panel agrees, it is kind of a multi-screen world where users are going to be on all of these different devices. But you as someone building these applications wants to understand how are your analytics performing across all of those without having to worry as much about the underlying technology.
How, just getting into the weeds a little bit, and I know Kontagent, you guys started in social, so you guys started on Facebook. I got a call. This idea of multi-screen attribution or modeling multi-screen behavior, You know, I'm trying to figure that out. At Millennial, you know, working with folks at leading panel-based, you know, measurement companies to bring some better methods to mobile. I want this to be the most measurable medium out there, and not today. But how do you, you know, how do you guys look at that sort of cross-platform thing? Have you done any work where it's social now and you're focused now on mobile? That's kind of...
Yeah, good question. So for multi-screen or multi-channel businesses, the tracking user behavior and value and customer experience across screens is really important. For us, Kontagent, yeah, we got our start on the social side, tracking primarily Facebook apps, and then expanded to other social platforms thereafter, and that's still a big part of what we do at Kontagent. A lot of our customers from the social side also shifted over to mobile. So it's always been important to us to be able to give you insight on what's happening on both platforms and to be able to measure efficacy for different media channels that you're investing in. We work a lot on that now. One thing we found, looking at it pretty carefully, and this is somewhat a function of sort of the state of the market and developer sophistication, is that you actually get a lot more, at least today, by trying to optimize your customer experience for each platform, as opposed to trying to look at sort of aggregates of users across channels and screens. I think that's going to become increasingly important, and it's something that we're increasingly focused on at Kontagent. But today, for most businesses and most developers, we found actually just being really focused on your mobile application customer experience, or your social application customer experience, is where you're going to pick up there's so much to do there in terms of improving the customer experience. That's where you get the most business benefit. We provide, at Kontagent specifically, we provide really deep analytics inside of applications on each platform. And we can do sort of cross-device tracking and cross-screen tracking. Anytime you can identify a user, so with let's say a Facebook ID or perhaps a registration that you have inside your app or on your website. So we can provide really deep tracking in those cases too. And for most businesses today, again, given the state of the market today, that's what's really important. Going forward, kind of tracking the anonymous users across screens will be more important and something we've spent a lot of time on at Kontagent. But for most businesses, from small game developers or small app developers on through big brands, it's not a really meaningful sort of impact in terms of changing the customer experience.
So you spend a lot of time on where are you at with that? Where are you like that?
Sure. So we have a version of multi-screen tracking. I don't want to do too much of a product pitch, but we have a pretty cool multi-screen tracking capability today to help you understand how users flow from platform to platform. So that's today. And then over time, in the near future, we'll be rolling out more on sort of cross-screen attribution, both for where users came from and then what they did across screens.
And using some probabilistic method, IP address.
So for us specifically, and we think this is the right way to do it generally, anytime you have a reliable means of definitively identifying a user, we rely on that. But over time, again, and to be clear, on mobile, you always have a reliable identifier because all the platforms expose some way to identify the device at least. And so,
just to interrupt you there, I actually don't think that's true at all.
Controversy.
That's actually one of the. So I'll speak from the developer standpoint. We work with Android developers, and particularly in Android land, I think it's a travesty that Google hasn't invested more in this. And there's no Android people to beat up. I mean, you're a customer of Android. You're a customer of Android. The device identifier. Yeah, well, that's the problem. And he said they don't talk to him. And the fact is, the device ID is not unique on Android. You cannot use it. And the crazy thing, this is true of a lot of Android APIs, they work most of the time. But the problem is, as a developer, you can't rely upon them unless they work all the time. So if they only work most of the time, they're useless to you. And that's just one example of that. Why don't we have...
strong word.
they're not useful for this sort of thing because you start getting into probabilistic models and that sort of thing. Let me say not as useful as it could be.
There's been industries built on probabilistic.
Yeah,
TV advertising.
But so you know, Google didn't invent the browser, but they did invent Android. And they could have solved this problem from the beginning. I'm amazed there's no cookie synchronization. There's no way to synchronize cookies from web to app to app. You know, this is an advertising company we're sitting at. You would think this is the basic problem. So instead you get companies like Drawbridge that try to figure out fingerprinting. I mean, yeah, there's an industry there simply because it wasn't solved platform.
Yeah, so, yeah, I just want to be clear though on the point. I'm not talking about a way to identify devices or users across applications, which you're right on Android, that's not very reliable. The IMEA and the other identifiers often are misimplemented by the manufacturers. However, within an application, which is really what we care about, so we work closely with our customers, and across your own applications as a publisher, you can always have a reliable identifier because you have access to device storage with the application. So in terms of aggregating user behavior across apps and across publishers, that's actually something we don't do at Kontagent, mostly for privacy reasons and because our business is really around helping individual businesses, not trying to aggregate data on user profiles and sell it in retargeting or what have you. We don't need that, so to be clear, that's what we mean with a reliable identifier on mobile.
So I think this is a new challenge that we all are working towards to solve. This multi-screen, multi-device, and trying to figure out, you know, who the users are. And so it's very interesting. Even internally, there's quite a bit of difficulty to really navigate through these waters. But a lot of that, and I didn't understand until I got to Google, until I started noticing it myself. My take is Google has two things going on for it. One is that it has a very, very long-term outlook. They want to build ecosystems, and they have a very user-centric view of the world. That's user comes first, and that is sometimes is at the cost of even sacrificing some of the short-term wins that we can have on the advertising side. They're happy to sacrifice it because they believe this is, if somehow you invade privacy of any users in any shape or form knowingly, you are essentially going to betray the trust and damage the brand, and they're not going to stick around with you. So because they have a very long-term outlook, they've implemented very, very strict privacy policies internally. That there's a constant sort of discussions and navigation around what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. And this is a constant thing that Ross and I are dealing with the Android world and we are from the ads world. So, and it's actually very good for longer tail of the industry. I think. But while Google tends to have a much longer term outlook, there's going to be startups, a lot of videos on panel that are trying to figure out other ways to navigate through these waters, and it's a good sort of healthy competition for the market, I think. So if Google doesn't offer it, if someone else figures it out, it's great.
But like, just to hammer on that point, I don't want to evolve into a privacy discussion, but technically, how do you do cross-platform attribution in Google Analytics? When is that going to be rolled out? And what's the tech behind it?
So a lot of that is actually about this whole universal analytics thing that I was talking about. So it is, yeah, it's publicly, we launched public beta 2 months ago. You haven't checked our website. You don't like me that much, I know. So, no, but it is a challenge, to your point. It is something that we've laid out a few methodologies. Some of it is actually around stuff that Kontagent has talked about. It is about, so businesses have an ID that they can import into our systems. We can actually help them to track it. At the scale that we are doing that is actually quite challenging. But that is one of the preferred methods. And we did a lot of customer studies. We talked to a lot of people. That's sort of one of the most kosher ways of doing this, because now we can actually present the user with a new task. And it's the business's liability, ultimately, for them to get the consent of the user to do this. The other methods are probabilistic modeling and those kind of things are present. Others are the Drawbridge and others are doing. I don't know about the exact details of this, but to me, like, this is me as a user now. If someone does something without me giving consent to, like, I'll be, even if I don't know about it right now, if I found out about it a couple months down the road, I'll be outraged. So that's the fine line. How do you do something that users are doing just, you have to do that. So you have to do right by the users, but also at the same time you cater to the business needs. So it's a challenge.
Okay, perfect. And just on, Apsalar and Flurry, bringing you guys in, so, you guys are mobile pure play, right? Is that always going to remain the case? What is, on your roadmap, mobile, how do, or is it just mobile pure play? That's the way it's going to remain.
I'll start with Flurry. At the moment, we are mobile pure play. We focus really on going deep within mobile analytics. That's just where we got our start and where we really feel like our bread and butter is. We've expanded slightly into mobile web out of just pure apps, so starting to take a look at that cross linkage. But at the moment, I think we're staying mobile pure play and have our product manager know how to sell stuff there.
Are you looking? Do you do it today, or is it on your roadmap to integrate third-party data, most of which is present online? A lot of those linkages have been built online. Are you looking at further enrichment of the data, both from the analytics side or potentially the authority side?
So at the moment, we haven't brought in any kind of external third-party web data. We've stuck mostly on the mobile side. And to be honest, I don't know if that's scheduled to change, but we really sort of see ourselves as mobile and data.
Yeah, we're definitely focused on the mobile space. We're both in terms of tracking from mobile web to mobile apps, but our focus is definitely mobile. When we talk to marketers today at major mobile-first companies, they can't tell you how many users they're getting from a campaign source. They can't reliably tell you downstream how effectively that user is monetizing. On iOS alone, we do automatic detection of in-app purchases, and we see a fraud rate of 53% of all in-app transactions. And so you can talk to any mobile app game developer and fraud, that type of detection, and just understanding efficacy of campaigns spend is a huge problem.
Explain that, please. Fraud rate, what's going on there?
Yeah, so basically, there are a number of ways to do it, but essentially what will happen is people will essentially create a fraudulent, or they'll transact in one app for a virtual good, and then they'll go and use that receipt ID to actually transact for virtual goods in another app. And what will happen is that app may either give away the virtual good, or they may reject it, but in a lot of cases we see this significantly high rate of actual fraud. It doesn't occur particularly at a high rate in the US, but we see it a lot.
So they're able to purchase the virtual goods without real money?
That's right.
How do they trick the system?
There's a really good tutorial online. There are quite a few ways to do it, yeah.
So for our purposes, but Apsalar, so you're in the LTV business, like modeling lifetime value.
Sure.
But you're also in the media business, right? So you're, when you're attributing, where you're getting higher LTV, hey, it's on Apsalar, right?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll be transparent with anybody that buys with us, so it's fine. But we want them to understand how actually efficient one of their buying channels happens to be. Right? That's really important for us. So part of that is understanding the revenue we're generating downstream.
So I have to take off actually right now, but in closing I wanted to actually say, just from my vantage point, from a product management before Google Analytics, I actually sincerely believe it's not a zero-sum game for a lot of us, because as I was saying, it's a market that's constantly shifting, the stuff that you guys are observing too. So there's going to be a lot of innovation that's going to come out. Some of it's going to be from us. We're doubling down on mobile app analytics, don't get me wrong. But everyone else on the panel, we're all taking on different focus areas, and which is actually what I recommend. Focus on an area that just no one else is focused on. Just go down that path. And we're going to see a lot of changes. And I do think the market is so big that there's going to be a ton of sort of new players emerging from this.
ton of big players. How many?
Not thousands. Well, Millennial, for instance, came out very quickly, right?
Yeah.
And they're public very quickly, and it's just people even like when I look at it, Google it on the scale, they can see it, right?
I just want to ask the panelists, just name a company that you really admire in the analytics space. And it can be, preferably, and it can be your own, right? But, you know, because it is a big, messy space. Everyone from, you know, local analytics, pure play mobile, you know, KISS metrics, pick your poison, you know, like Adobe. Who do you think is, you know, swear if I see a t-shirt out there, government, shut up. You know, who's doing an awesome job and can't be your own company in the analytics space that you think you can learn from, or that you think is, you know, so the people you really admire?
I'll start.
Right.
So there's actually only two, and you know, I mean, it's just in some ways we're competitors, so I respect certain aspects of what these folks do. So one company I think does a good job is KISS Metrics. Particularly, they do a good job of kind of easy to understand ways explaining kind of how metrics work. And actually, if you look online for web analytics, KISS probably has some of the best Google Analytics tutorials out there. So they sort of embrace the idea of just teaching people about analytics and making it simple. KISS, keep it simple, stupid, right? So that was the kind of genesis of KISS Metrics. So I like what they do there. I also like, you know, I think they haven't done a good job at all in mobile yet, and I don't know if they ever will. But I like Omniture too, in the sense that, you know, they partner closely with businesses and, you know, work with you to, you know, help you understand and sort of customize their platform to help you get actual business results out of there. So at Kontagent, you know, we try to learn from, you know, successes in the space, and, you know, try to work really closely with customers like an Omniture does, and go really, hopefully, beyond, you know, what they do. And we also try to keep it simple and understandable for people inside of an organization, which is a place maybe where Omniture fell short, but where KISS Metrics did a good job. So those are a couple that I admire.
So the next, I guess a couple that I admire for different reasons. Actually, one of them is going to be Omniture, and also for their customer support in a way that I think they've done a nice job of actually starting out very strongly in the web analytics space and starting to transition into mobile. And from what I've heard from customers that I've worked with, and also work with Omniture, just getting that really strong support from them. The other one I was going to mention that, just from my personal opinion, has done a great job of actually trying to educate customers, and because of my role, I really admire them for that piece, and that actually is Localytics. I think they've done a nice job of constantly putting out interesting research and also a lot of kind of cutesy, I would say, interesting video tutorial.
So cutesy means not very serious. It's for the dumb guys.
I think they're trying to make a subject otherwise
Speak.
Alright, it's all done.
No, that's good. I think that's great.
Yeah, one of the companies I think is pretty interesting is actually Apsalar. And the reason why is just that, I would say, sorry?
We got louder.
I was going to say Apsalar.
Yeah, they're all out.
I probably could. Don't ever leave it.
Testing? Good? Good to go. Cool. I was going to say, I think Apsalar is a pretty interesting company. One of the reasons why is I think in 2007, when mobile was just becoming big, especially in the space, I could easily see myself making an argument that a lot of what's happened on the desktop web was just going to repeat itself in mobile. And so one of the cool things that I think with Apsalar in particular is that and not just analytics, they're also DSP. So you kind of see that companies are starting to do a little bit more, starting to do a little bit more with the data that they're able to gather. Which is cool to see something new. It's good for me.
It's good for me too. Actually, I maybe take a, without my Apsalar hat on, I still admire Nielsen as a business. It's still the gold standard for brand advertisers and who they're reaching. And really at the end of the day, consumers or marketers want to know who their consumer is and what they look like. And I think Nielsen, while it's not perfect, still does that.
And they sued me.
That's attribution.
There we go.
Hello? Hello? All right. So, we talked to a lot of developers out there, from the biggest games publishers to the smallest guys. And the best piece of advice I have is to use something. You'd be surprised at how many app companies measure nothing, or very little, or the wrong things. So any of these companies are great companies to try, but even just doing something to be ahead of most people. There's probably, in mobile user acquisition, it's probably a $3 billion business right now. And just now, people are trying to figure out how they can track their campaigns, with the sources, and figure out who actually acquired the music for them. To me, it's shocking it got this far before people even thought to do that, and now it is being able to do that. So, start with that. And to point out why this is hard, to answer your question about how fraud happens, there's simple solutions to this. In iOS, Apple has an option where you can ping back to a server to verify the transaction is valid. Most people don't listen to that. And in Android, Google doesn't have an equivalent yet. But the reason that this stuff doesn't happen is we're so focused on, to a large degree, on the mobile user experience and the feature drag race or their competitors, that they don't have the teams and the expertise to build up at scale mobile cloud services. When you can go from 0 to 100 million users in a couple of months, there are very few engineering teams or companies on the planet that can handle that. And so most of these companies, even the most successful, are just ill-equipped to be able to handle this kind of scale. And so things like that just get overlooked until later.
Excellent. So we've got about 15 minutes left. I want to make sure that we've got some audience participation. This gentleman in the back, I'm going to repeat the question. Just take it on the platform.
With content and conversation, the Google Play Store with content, in-game content, in-game purchases, do you see the mobile web, specifically at your file and tracking from the inside there, if users allow you through kind of a savings in this bifurcated mobile space, because it's just going to get worse when TVs hit hard, it's going to get worse when other devices on the games or whatever else people offer, I won't say where to put it. Do you see that as exposure? Another place people are depending on putting all this data together, like people like you who actually track the whole internet, actually have to be able to find out what's really going on.
So how do we pull it all together is, like, they're and see, I don't think there's a saving grace. Every time you create new platforms to solve the problem, like be it legacy and legacy against legacy. So I just think we're dealing with a probabilistic world. Nothing's perfect.
Yeah, then you got 2008, where the economy tanks on probabilistic model.
So I just, Russell just joined us here. He's with Google Analytics. So, Google should be the one to pull this together. I'd like you to talk about, are there some companies out there that you really admire on the sort of cross-platform attribution side? Has anyone figured that out doing well yet?
Yeah, I don't really think that anybody has that. And I think the way that we're approaching it from Google is, as Ross mentioned earlier, maybe taking a little bit of a longer term view there, where, ultimately, the contract of everything that we're going to get Google have is with the end user. And so I think on a couple different hats. Like as a product manager on the Google Analytics team, I'm very frustrated that the IDEs aren't there as reliable as I would like them to be, particularly when you compare them to iOS. I think, you know, Shay, that there's somewhat of, you know, a realistic kind of positioning of how the two of us are on this panel right now, where our data is silent because it is kept separate from a user standpoint to just, you know, definitely reinforce that privacy aspect. And so what we're looking to do with analytics is provide a number of mechanisms for developers when they have, you know, identifiers that they can use to push those into the system. But at the same time, it's not something that we're doing from the analytics side, you know, fingerprinting a device or doing something like that. So I think we're balancing the developer need with being able to have this holistic perspective, and don't get me wrong, and we're going to have a slew of offerings to help satisfy that. But at the same time, it can't just happen automatically because that violates the trust of our users.
So, anyone with specific technical sort of pain points or like, you know, issues this challenge here?
I have a question that about cost effectiveness. It's specifically when if I were to download an app that's a native app, with iOS, Android, and the other platforms, just using Alferness or are there fixes for that? And also doesn't matter if the tablet receives the download on their other device.
Can you repeat the question? Repeat the question.
Yeah, so as I understood the question, it's specifically if you're getting someone to download a native app on the platform and it came from a website. So maybe they click the link, you know, on a website and downloaded the native app. Is there a way to track that? And the answer is yes, but it depends on the platform. So on Android, if the link was kind of set up the right way, you can actually get what's called referral parameters into the Android App Store. And those are pretty reliable for the Google Play Store, at least. And so that's a direct kind of method of attribution. On iOS, it's fuzzier because the App Store strips out any referral information from the link that someone clicked to come into the App Store. So there you need to rely on techniques that are a little more probabilistic, like fingerprinting. There are a bunch of providers that...
How does Apple got to fix that? So we get up in Google, but like, this just seems like one of those things that, it's like we got all these companies that exist that will probably go away if Apple just sort of publishes a fix.
Right, yeah, I mean, it is a pain that Apple's created for all iOS developers now. It's really, you know, I don't personally understand why it isn't just opened up so that we can really accurately do attribution tracking like you do on the web. Hopefully that will change one day. But yeah, today there are a lot of companies charging, you know, actually pretty high rates just to do that attribution tracking on iOS.
We're talking about collecting big data across multiple screens and real-time background analytics. What we're really talking about is tracking through people across multiple networks. So we're talking about having a quad play carrier setting up here in a span of 350 million users. We have a little bit of data to track from one network to the other. We'd love to chat with you. We don't know what you want from us, but we're not going to continue to put 85% of our revenue back and just giving you a big site. So one, why isn't there a carrier on the panel? And two, this gentleman here said there's going to be multiple sources. I agree. Bring us into the equation.
So that's a great question. Why have carriers screwed up this opportunity so often for so long? I don't want to take that. I think that facetiously, but it's true. It's like we have a massive opportunity. I think a big problem is that we have a fiduciary relationship with operators. They make a lot of money and they print cash. And there's a much bigger privacy threshold when we're actually paying for something than against free. I thought there were any thoughts in that. Is there a role for an operator? Do you guys collaborate with folks on the operator side? I'm not with stunned silence.
We don't today, but it's something we'd be, you know, interested in talking about.
I'll be your witness.
I think there's drinks afterwards. So.
This gentleman down the back here. You got yourself.
No, this time. Speak up.
Okay. I have a fairly naive question. I was listening to the presentation and the question. I certainly realize that the power you have, all of you guys, including Google, probably surpasses the CIA and the FBI in terms of analytics and intelligence. My question to the smaller guys, those who are not, doing at the scale of Google, email and YouTube and web and all of that stuff. How does a company such as yours become successful and such huge players are in the game? What kind of things do you think of? What kind of algorithms do you think will succeed against the power of such massive corporations?
So Kontagent, no, I think that would be going for Kontagent or Apsalar. You guys are sort of working with individual developers. Maybe, is there a way, like Kontagent, you keep everyone's data in a silo. Could you actually benefit by having the long tail sort of put their data in a common format and in some way sort of build a better model that can compete with
the question is, how do you build a company in this space and be successful?
Right, I got you.
To be clear, do you mean building kind of an analytics or data company in this space, or building successful applications? So to build an analytics company or a data company, I think we sort of mentioned it earlier, it's really sort of choosing a real pain point that exists in the market, and the real developer space, so that be they large companies or smaller companies, and really focusing on that, such that data footprint when you're early, it's not the key differentiator for you. And so I think on the panel there's a bunch of different sort of approaches to that problem. We have, Apsalar ended up with one model, and Flurry has another model, and Google Analytics ended up with another model, and Kontagent has another one. So there's sort of multiple ways to give value to developers and help them solve problems and grow their business, right? Which is what makes you successful if you align with your customers.
And I think the one common theme here is just pain points in multi-platform attribution, cross-device attribution. If you can figure that out, you've got a very viable business.
Well, just to generalize it, you don't actually compete with Google. If Google decides to compete with you, you lose. Almost always. YouTube's one of the examples that didn't happen in Facebook, but almost always you lose. But Google's slow. It's a big company. And just to continue to pick on people, AdMob has not innovated very much in mobile apps. And it's because they had integrated into Google and done a lot of great things. But you look at all these other companies that have been able to thrive as a result, it's simply because they didn't move there yet. For example, Facebook created the behavioral targeting product for mobile user acquisition. They created $1 billion business in 6 months. AdMob has no behavioral targeting in the biggest business.
So did Omar really sell his company too early?
He has to do.
What do you think? Did Omar sell too early?
I don't have an opinion on that. I've actually never met Omar.
I know him quite well. I think he feels he probably sells too early.
I would just say that it's true that after the acquisition, we spent a lot of time working on integrating with Google. Just last year, we launched features to allow any AdWords advertiser to target mobile apps. So that means we have over 1 million AdWords advertisers who can now buy ads in your mobile apps. So that's actually a pretty huge innovation. And I think we're doing a lot of work also on the publisher side to integrate some of our offerings with AdSense and bring a lot of the power of desktop monetization and the controls that you have on desktop monetization to the mobile app space. And to do that at scale is actually quite a huge challenge. So we've been very focused on that. I think with our announcements at Google I/O, we've really rounded the corner in terms of doing a lot of the integration work that's necessary when a company, two big companies merge into it. So we're really excited to be in a position to innovate and move very quickly.
Awesome. So just, I got time for one last question. This gentleman here, who has that?
So, with FPC coming after the advertising network and a lot of mobile developers who are targeting the younger demographic, have any of you guys thought about tailoring the program to address that concern as far as being able to monetize the advertising and still having your demographic targeted to sub 18-year-olds, sub 12-year-olds demographic?
Like, so a lot of people downloading apps are juvenile. How do you guard against, like, are there guardrails around, so what, you know, adult, juvenile, you know, assurance, brand safety assurance, you get double verify, you get VC, transport VC, all this stuff that are built up online that hasn't really come to mobile. And mobile, you know, the first thing my kid does is grabs the iPad in the morning. You know, I wish, you know, it's just, and hey, when you get ready for work, you're like, hey, go for it, dude. But like, what do you do? You know, child protection, just monitoring who's using the app. Is there any solution at that? Is it an analytics problem?
I'll speak to it from an analytics perspective. I can't speak to Flurry's app network side of things, but we have been following COPPA pretty closely, and it seems like on July 1st there will be new regulations that go into effect. So one of the things that our product team is actually working on is a kid-friendly version of our analytics product, so that developers that are making apps that are for children will be compliant with the law and still be able to kind of get a lot of the valuable insight that they need to for their apps.
Awesome. So listen, thank you, panelists, for doing a great job. Thank you all. Down in the back, and some cold drinks. So,
we have some giveaways. We have prizes. So we have a couple of bottles of wine, and some of you folks put your business card in the fishbowl, and so we're going to do a raffle of prizes and giveaways and cool slabs. Okay, we need a pretty lady named Josh to pull from the fishbowl here. Okay, so who put their name in the fishbowl here? Last call. Do you want to put your business card? Business card, anybody? All right. First winner is Piyush Koshner. Come on down. They have a people we have Jackie Lee. Jackie Lee, rated 1. Jackie, are you here? Jackie. Going once, twice? Oh! Yeah. Wait, also, I wanted to mention, most of you have these pamphlets on your chair. So, at the end of the month, this Mobile Commerce World is part of ours. There is a free expo pass, and also on June 24th is our next Mobile Monday event. It'll be at the Palace Hotel in San Francisco on mobile commerce. And we have some awesome information and analytic information from 10,000 millennials talking about how they use mobile. So don't forget, the promo code is also here on your pamphlet. So keep it free, expo pass. Be awesome. Okay, next. What are we giving away? Oh, hey, this is a Java. Rita, Sashdev. Okay, we have Android figurines that go on eBay for at least $150. Anthony Borquez from Grab.
right, Jason Escamilla from Coach My Video. Jason, come on down. At least 3 All right, Yvonne Lee, Candy Jar. Okay, the final one, Nikolai Lapsky, Nikolai. Once, twice.